ladies and gentlemen, floating in the cosmic ethers, mindful of the hopes manifold within you, I desire this night, as never before, to unfold the dignity of the rose of life, the soul of God, in form, into a breathing awareness made known to your blessed consciousness. The struggles for existence multiplied by mortal efforts can be simplified by a sweet sense of grace, a sweet sense that desires in depth to acknowledge divine grace planted within the heart by the hand of God. The light of the eye, the alacrity of thought as it speeds across the brain and consciousness into action, into living awareness, is meteoric. It is a flash in the apparent night side of being, which comes to life and speaketh unto mankind by the power of the Logos. I am. I am. I am being. Existence, consciousness, bliss, and awareness is a series of words embodied within the name of God. For by the power of being and beingness, by the power of the I am principle of life that maketh known and manifest within the domain of the individual, the very living being of God, man is able to rise out of the limited dimensions of mortal existence until he comes face to face with a reality so dazzling, so blinding, so full of hope, that at first he cannot realize that which is manifesting within the force field of being. But as that force field begins to pulsate in the arena of world action, and greater manifestations of holy thoughts begin to pass as the pulse of the Divine One across the screen of the mind, man is aware that outside of himself, as well as within, there is an electric contact, a spark, a living flame, a breathing reality. And so he quests, and in the quest, his questions are answered by action from the divine level. Therefore, the balloons of mortal illusion are punctured by the darts of cosmic effort, and man comes to realize that there is a divine overseer interested in the development within himself of all that is holy and all that is lovely, that which will escort him out of the field of the flesh and its travail into the beauty of the divine monastic life. Please do not misconstrue my words, gracious ones, to think that I am advocating either marriage or non-marriage. I refer to a monotheism, and I refer to a monastic sense whereby man develops the sense of the oneness of his own being. The divine counterpart of that being will, of course, unite with the individual, producing the perfect pair. Those whom God himself hath united, let no man put asunder. But the end of existence is not in the concept of merely seeking for one's twin ray or pursuing some individual in embodied form, but understanding that the great monotheism, which is the requirement of the hour, is integration by both male and female of themselves with their divine presence. This union produces the fruit of holy sonship in all who are able to share in its beauty. I have had some experience, precious ones, in connection with gems, and while mankind might not certify me as a gemologist, I think that I am aware of how to produce within the heart of a gem a radiation of the sacred fire, which will cause the luster of that gem to increase many times before the eyes of man. I recall that often at the court of France, as I entered the door and my name was announced, the nobles of the court would turn and gaze upon me, primarily because of the luster in the jewels which I wore. Thus, men are often caught in the glamour of ephemeral and temporary things. But in actuality, some of these jewels, precious ones, were not at all temporary, but they were permanent manifestations of a great God flame within the heart of the gem. This process is, of course, unknown to mankind unascended, and they are incapable of producing such manifestations in the world of form. However, I would be quite glad to impart the secret unto them if they will do all that I desire them to do and reunite themselves with their divine presence, coming to me at inner octaves of light where they will no longer require the secret, for they will have it as a part of their divine grace and the radiance of the divine one, the crown of life resting upon their brow as accomplishment in victory. Strange as it may seem, it is always in a time of need that mankind seems to seek to rise up to the precise requirement of the moment and produce a certain quality which will supply that need. But when there is a sense of struggle about the supply, there is always a stirring of the stream of radiant energies which otherwise would crystallize into manifestations simply because the gusts of the mind create such turbulence that the very idea which they try to posit into the world of form is blown away in their lusty and gusty breath. Calmness of mind then is needed, and a sense of knowing within the soul that perfection is produced by the holding of divine concepts, not by their rejection. Let men choose, if they will, to reject our concepts. They deprive no one of us of any good thing, but only themselves. And this is what has happened not infrequently, but far too frequently in the world of form. If I seem to wax hot, remember that I am concerned with the freedom of every man, and I too am no respecter of men's persons, loving the least among men as much as the greatest. In the days of my attendance at the court of France, I sought to influence the noble of birth and those who were in positions of power as a means of reaching the hearts of the people and conveying to them all the blessings of divine grace. Having failed in securing the attention of the court of France and other of the crowned heads of Europe, I turned myself to the perfectionment of mankind at large, and I recognized that among mankind there were many who, hungering and thirsting after righteousness, would indeed be filled with the divine perfection which would enable them to take command in the domain of mankind and create ideas of union among the sovereign states. Thus, the United States was born as a child of my heart, and the early American Revolution was indeed a means of bringing freedom in all of its glory into manifestation from the east unto the west. And so progress has been born. And here in this teeming country where life is flowing ever onward, men coming and going at large, there is a great need for understanding of the forces that have acted in the world of form, that have produced conditions of bondage, and have created an opposition to the divine intent which not only my life stream, but the life stream of all the ascended masters has sought to foster and nourish in the hearts of men. For example, men do not realize or completely understand that those of us who were at one time indeed rulers of civilization should encourage the creation of labor unions among mankind, and yet we did it. We did it in order to free mankind from the oppression that was being wreaked upon the very young, who were being forced into a life of servitude, producing then in the world of form an activity of freedom for the young of heart, that they might study and understand the gaiety of life. However, those who do not understand all that is done from the ascended master's level might indeed look askance for a moment at this, because it might be contrary to some of their opinions. But I want to call to your attention that it was later in the formation of the labor movement that certain barons of power moved in and used and misused and abused that which we had secured originally for the freedom of man. Remember, precious ones, that a divine idea in itself is an idea to convey and bequeath to mankind the power of freedom. But what men do with their freedom is their own solemn responsibility. And if that which they call freedom becomes a means of enslaving themselves and others beneath a hammer and a sickle, then we are not for it. For we stand today for the freedom of America from every form of dominion, from every form of mortal tyranny, and we are determined to keep this great nation free. And therefore, tonight, as a means of securing God's freedom, I desire to give to all within the confines of this room a certain gift from my heart. I am going to use liquid light tonight, and I am going to beam liquid light through this room to clear the minds of the individuals assembled here of certain thoughts which are not charged with compassion or the correct attitude of receptivity toward the ascended master's light. You have seen an adding machine, and you know that a certain sum may indeed rest within its vitals. That adding machine can be cleared by the simple movement of a key, and therefore the machine is returned back to zero. I shall not move in the minds of those who do not desire me, and therefore it shall be only with implied consent that I shall act. Therefore, if you do not wish tonight to have my light rays pass through your being, simply register the thought in your mind, no, and I shall pass you by, even as the death angel passed the children of Israel by in the night of the Passover. But if you desire to have the benefit of my ministrations on behalf of your immortal soul, then simply just breathe in the air of freedom and know that I am here, to produce the world of God perfection in the world of form. To sustain it will not be possible, for I shall only perform it perforce for a specific service of anchoring within your world the vibratory actions which I subsequently will release in worded form, and which also I shall release by the power of the Spirit of life that is resident within me. Quick! Quicken. It is done. Ladies and gentlemen, in the beginning the Word was. And when the Word went forth, it caused rejoicing in the courts of heaven. For there then was no world of form known unto the ego, save the world of divine form. The cathedrals of heaven were rainbow vaulted, magnificent places where the ascended masters from other systems of worlds, the cosmic beings, the angels, the archangels, stood and sat from time to time on raised dais. Thus, the multitudes of those courts, the beings, the egos, the individual identities, stood arrayed in robes of white, waiting the opportunity of descending into flesh form for the glory of God in worlds without end below. Many of you were in that group and were aware of the pulsations of infinite love as it poured from the heart of God, dazzling and scintillating light rays now unknown to mankind. You basked in a light that flooded your being, and the feeling of God happiness that then came thundering through your world was light and love and power made manifest. The rays of light that poured from your presence into your being gave you such happiness and peace that no worded description can ever convey to the mind, but only the divine feeling, those moments of celestial bliss when you abode in the consciousness of God, when the divine radiance was very nigh and there was no sense of limitation in your world, when doubt did not exist and fear and all of the human qualities which are foibles of mortal fallacy. Then at that moment you knew and rejoiced with the sons of God, and the paeans of praise that rose from your heart added to the rapture of the divine ones who were assembled there. I cannot create for you these images and bring them to life. You must recreate for yourself from the halls of divine memory those precious moments when you communed with your own divine reality. In a consciousness of that great God freedom, I come and stand among you tonight to remind you that the world that is now appearing before the screen of your mind, the outer world of form, with all of its smoke and fury, can roll up as a scroll with the prick of an instant when the individual departs the world of form. For the celestial realms we hope, but certainly to go out of that body temple. It is not our desire that you shall go out into a realm of darkness, but into a realm of light, not as a rudderless ship or one without chart and compass, but as men and women who can respond to the call of the ancient mariner, to the call of the Ancient of Days, to the call of your own divine self, which does exist in the atmosphere right above you, and is pouring its love and light into your mortal form now in the holy name of freedom. But what of society? What of your brothers now wedded to form? What of the many who do not know? What of those who cannot comprehend? Of those who have not yet developed the mind to understand the laws of light? What of those who are idiots and in asylums? What of those who need and require the healing of divine grace to repair the breaches and weld the facets of the mind into a comprehensible whole, that light may flow over that whole and convey divine intelligence without limit? I come tonight in a spirit of cosmic invocation, and I plead with the board which you call the karmic board to raise the veil for a moment and to permit myriad angels from the realms of light and from the octaves of cosmic healing to descend into the atmosphere of this room and of this planet, and to seal and heal among you those who have certain infirmities, that there may be an activity germinal within your being which will produce the perfection of life there, even as the magnificence of the cosmic Christ manifesting through the Lord whom you call Jesus the Christ did manifest among the people of Judea the beauty and perfection of God. But remember, and I say this with solemnity, gracious ones, remember that those who were raised from the dead and those who were healed in a temporal, physical manner did indeed pass through the change called death at a later date. And therefore I advocate that you shall all understand that the greatest healing in the name of freedom which can ever come to a man is the quickening of the immortal power of God realization within his consciousness. It is not a question of human goodness. It is not a question of human qualification for divine ideals. God himself qualified you from the beginning. And mankind has misqualified the energies which God placed within the repository, within the chalice of life, which is the force field of every individual. Those energies were holy, they were pure, and they remain above you as holy, as pure chalices of light, conveying and holding in the precious causal body of man's being. The concentric color rings, which are in this chart, which show that every man has within himself the power to quicken the mortal form and to guide it as God directed in the beginning. These laws not only require study, they require application, and they are intense in their demands upon the energies of man. If man is to become completely whole, he must give his whole being to his divine presence. He cannot hold back one portion safely. And if he seek to permit himself to become identified with his Creator, with the Infinite One, and hold back part of the price, like Ananias and Sapphira before the feet of Peter, he will find that portion of himself fallen and destroyed. Thus he who seeks to save his life shall certainly lose it. But he who loses himself within the realms of his infinite causal body shall find his life again, pulsating in every place where God is. For God is right where you are. And if you will claim it and say, I am a being of divine grace, it will be so. And men will behold upon the screen of life, especially those who are able to discern wisely, that a divine being is occupying that frame which formerly you called your own. You are not your own was spoken to you by St. Paul, for you are bought with a price. And the price that was paid by the infinite, eternal Father in the beginning. He gave unto the prodigal creation the right to go forth into the world of form and to manifest all that the individual willed. And the will of the individual, because of the absorption of wrong principles in the world of form, has continually willed otherwise than God has willed. And thus ye see here upon the screen of life myriad personalities, myriad individuals who are activated by corrupting principles of life and know it not. They do not understand or comprehend even the law of re-embodiment too much in the Western Hemisphere. But in the East it has become an accepted fact. Let now the men of the West take a new look at life and understand that life is eternal. Let them understand that in the eternality of life, cosmic Christ principles are resurrected again and again. But let men not, because of the continuity of life, flaunt the precious gift that is offered and feel that they can do so with impunity. For certainly, if life is anything, precious ones, life is just. And if life is just, then it will convey to you the righteousness which you send out just as safely and correctly as it does the unrighteousness which you unwittingly send out, and in a few cases, I am sorry to say, which you send out without recognition. The time has come when more and more individuals are awakening in this day and age to the God reality of themselves. They are awakening to the holy cause of their freedom, and they realize that within the domain of personal self-willed life, there is no freedom at all, but only license to do. And certainly today, as you behold the young of the world who have taken this spirit of license to do as rebellion against the codes of society, you see that in the domain of the human family, a fierce breed has arisen. But perhaps it might be beneficial if I were to convey to you tonight the reality of many of these young people. Many of them, precious ones, were actually, because of their corrupted nature, not permitted to embody for generations after generations, but were held in what amounts to chambers of darkness, bound and prevented from manifestation upon the screen of life, lest they should once again become bad apples in the barrel to spoil others. Now the law has been fulfilled and come full cycle, and therefore a whole crop has been dumped upon this generation, and because of that, they are linking themselves together, encouraging corruption among others of the youth of the world, and rebelling against that code of humanities which has become so very much a part of jurisprudence in the world of form. Let it be clear then to all that the safety of the laws of society is very great, and that codification of those laws, dating even from before the time of Hammurabi, has manifested in the world of form as a counterpart of a divine jurisprudence, a cosmic justice, if you will, a justice which cannot be construed by mortal minds, but will always acknowledge within itself that caste which is indeed prologue, and understand that it is the record of every man's doings. The happenings and events in the world of form are collective events, as humanity by their doings casts upon the pathway of life collectively the shadow of coming events. In this present era, when men's hearts are definitely quaking and failing them for fear of what is coming upon the earth, there is an additional need for compassion upon mankind. You must recognize the terror that is spread abroad upon the earth in the hearts of those who do not have any knowledge whatsoever of re-embodiment, those who do not understand how these events conspire against the body of mankind, those who do not understand how that freedom is imperiled by man's indignities against man. That which offends one offends all. That which justifies one and raises and ennobles one ennobles all. All that men do then is welded into a universal whole, and try as man may, he cannot break this law. Therefore, he must accept that which he cannot break. Yet, again and again, individuals feel that they are above the law or outside the domain of the law, and thus they flaunt the law, which is a criminal act in the world of form, simply because among the intelligentsia and the learned politicos of the world, there is a certain amount of misqualification of substance, varying from nation to nation and place to place. Mankind feel disposed to flaunt the law which those who are sworn to uphold it do. This, too, then produces, by the power of bad example in the world of form, an activity of decay in the world at large. Those of you who are interested in producing virtue in society will recognize that by upholding the law in the domain of your own personal self, you are upholding it everywhere and for every son of heaven. These words are real. They are the intent of God himself, focused through the ages and codified as divine reality. Bear then allegiance to the law of life and to the laws of God, for there is a similitude even between mortal law and respect for it, and respect for the laws of God. Remember, precious ones, that the mankind of earth have themselves, by attunement with the humanities and the spirit of humanity, brought forth, under the direction of a divine aegis, the laws which you call mortal, and which men and nations have sworn to uphold and protect. Society has moved forward through the ages, and you are standing now at the crossroads of the divine adventure, when all of the negative forces of the world that from the beginning have sought the destruction of mankind conspire now to bring to each one and to society as a whole a great cosmic test. Shall man then arise? Shall he arise to the exigencies of the occasion and be that which he is in reality? Or shall he descend into the degradation of Pompeii and to the degradation of civilizations now broken? Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your tribute. Won't you please be seated? The destiny of mortal men is strictly up to themselves, and never before in history has mankind stood at the crossroads of such eternal possibilities. The possibilities are collective and individual, and those who feel that individual salvation is superior to collective salvation should look again upon the screen of life and the mighty law that was penned by the Spirit of Almighty God, a law which declares, I am my brother's keeper. Those who feel that all salvation is collective and that they should ignore individual salvation, let them look again upon the need to be the fullness of that which they can be. Righteous, yea. Wise, yea. Pure, yea. Consecrated, yea. Dedicated, yea. Performing in action, yea. All these things men ought to be within the domain of the individual, so that the individual can arise to perform the most efficacious service possible to life. All individuals do not find themselves at a given moment capable of rendering a supreme service. All individuals cannot be at a given moment a Christ unto mankind. But they can, by divine faith, seize the precious gift of the moment and accept the highest offerings which life has to themselves. And in the eyes of God, this penny of human offering is just as great as $1 million to those who possess it. It is the qualities of dedication that come from within yourselves that are accepted by the courts of heaven. It is the dedication which you feel within yourself, which in your own limited orbit will mean just as much as the service of the sun of this system of worlds means to the planets in this planetary chain. Let all understand then in the holy name of freedom that right where you are, God is, and he seeks to captivate your hearts and your desires, not in order that you shall become servitors, merely bowing to himself, to his name and fame, to his flame, to all that he is, but rather that you shall accept his laws as laws of life, workable in the arena of action, and serving to deliver the entire planet from all that has kept it bound and has caused mankind to render a frightful disservice to themselves. When I was at the court of France, and when I dealt with the Louis kings and with others of the crowned heads of Europe, I often found it possible to reach them when all else would fail through human vanity. And thus I would give them some specific jewel which I wore upon my person, and find that they were quickly enamored by it and seemed to bear me a great allegiance. On several occasions I was able to ask for a law in the name of the people. I recall one instance where if I had been heeded, the entire French Revolution would never have occurred. But unfortunately, people have a habit of demanding what they want when they want it, and then forgetting it very quickly afterward, even when offering their promises to an ascended being. Of course, let me make it clear that they did not recognize me as an ascended being. On several occasions, I would pass through a pair of double doors with guards on each side, and then when I was out of sight from anyone, I would simply dissolve my form. Then individuals would pursue, and not finding me would wonder, where has Saint Germain gone? But they could not find me. The beloved Master Jesus, in his Galilean embodiment, on many occasions did likewise, even prior to his ascension. So the laws enabling mankind to dissolve the form can be mastered even by unascended individuals. And I would like to point out to you that there are a few individuals upon this planet who are able to do this very self-same thing. So please do not think, if you should see one of them disappear, that they are indeed ascended beings, for this is possible of mastery to mankind in the outer world of form when they have reached a certain point of dedication and comprehension of the framework of their physical body and learn and master the control of the points of light within that body. Understand that unascended mankind are very close to their presence, because, strange as it may seem to you, even the criminal element of life, even those who reach the point of being a betrayer of their life's energy, are not too far from the divine base of being. The actual difference between an ascended being and an unascended is not as great as you might imagine. And I tell you this because I want the star of hope tonight to blaze within the firmament of your being, that you may no longer have the idea that this chasm is so broad you cannot jump over it. With God all things are possible, and with the God that is within you all things are possible even quicker than you may realize. And we are interested in contacting not only the quick but the dead. For the quick have some idea of what I'm speaking about, and the dead may have no idea, but they can, if they will awaken from their sleep of lethargy, come to a point where they will understand it. By the laws of science, mankind seeks to probe the universe, and they have gone far, but they have not yet discovered the secrets of life which we of the ascended realm have long known. Nor is it highly likely that they will fully realize their ambitions to control the genes within the allotted span of time which they presently think. It is true that a great deal can be done for the life evolutions of this planet in a very constructive way by the scientists of the world, but they cannot engineer the responses of the soul, nor can they engineer fidelity, integrity, grace, and the love ray of Almighty God within the heart chalice. They do not understand how to create spiritually. They understand only how to create materially and frame the building. We understand not only how to frame the building, but how to energize that frame with the living spirit, the animus, that breathes life into the form and creates for a space, a span upon this world, a form, a life wave that moves as a being among men and perceives itself, other men and other conditions, and hears the voices of men and the voices crying in the wilderness of being, and does not always comprehend that which it hears. That you may comprehend in a greater measure is my prayer this night. For unfortunately, men have dipped their toes into the ocean and have noticed how that the cold of the ocean does sometimes numb their toes and cause a swift flow of blood to that lower member of the body temporarily, causing it to tingle. This flow in of vitality is an example which I am using to show that mankind will dip their toes into the ocean of God being and then retreat as though they were shot. What is the reason for this, precious ones? We have asked ourselves at inner levels. Are men afraid of life? Are they afraid of the ocean of God identity? Do they fear that they will indeed lose their life if they shall come in closer contact with their divine presence? What is the reason for man's desire to retreat at the precise moment when we desire to convey to them the very gifts of immortal life? And when their divine presence descends and places its loving arms around their being, there are some that very gingerly step backward as though they were afraid. Let fear now then be dispelled from mankind's heart. Would you prefer that you should depart the physical form and then find at inner levels that you were indeed a rudderless ship? Would you prefer that we would ignore your life and leave you alone to become a solitary climber upon the mountain? We think not. And therefore we continue to serve the causes of mankind's immortal freedom. We continue to pour our love light and the essence of ourself, the great God flame that we have, which has caused us to breathe the air of infinite freedom and descend into the world of form again and again to convey our felicity to mankind. Why do we do this? We do it in order that we may infuse you with vitality and with our concepts of life, so that you may have your own freedom and bear the God flame in cosmic honor. This is reason enough for us. We do not ask for your purse. We do not ask even for your person. We give you your God freedom. We give you your own power of free will choice. We permit you to do as you will, but we offer ourselves in the service of the great light for the freeing of mankind. This is wholly within the framework of cosmic reason. It is not only permissive, it is permissible and desirable, and infinitely superior to ignoring mankind and letting them go their collective ways to their collective destruction. Do you know, precious ones, that tomorrow evening the great divine director intends to raise the curtain upon epic cosmic events? Do you know that the great divine director intends to direct into your midst light rays of future prognostication, and will show to you at inner levels a series of cosmic visions, mighty glyphs of infinite light, which will give you some concept of that which is coming unto the earth, and which will give you perspective and direction in this hour of world turmoil. Well, precious ones, I may as well tell you with regret that some individuals here do not seem to possess the perspicacity or the desire to pursue the spiritual path to the extent of listening fully to that which I had intended to bring to you this night. And therefore, because it is our desire to bow even to the one who desires us to stop, we shall defer, and we shall bow to the God flame within you all, and we shall say, we take our adieu, we take our leave, but we will come again, and the hour more propitious will dawn, when receptive hearts will invoke the God flame before they come into our radiance, that they may be sustained by that infinite light, to hear all of God's delight which we desire to convey, that they may receive it is our prayer, not for our own sake, for we have long escaped from the realms of the earth and its minions. We are free from human opinions. We are free from flights of fancy, and even the flight of the bumblebee is not heard in our realm. Therefore, precious ones, as we leave, remember, it is not a leaving without love, but a leaving in love, a leaving in fire, a leaving to inspire you to come and listen another day when we will raise you a step higher in the realm of God's own way, and by his ray convey infinite peace and freedom today and forevermore. Angels of the Cross of Malta, descend. Form the cosmic image and defend. Angels of the Cross of Malta, wing thy way. Angels of the Cross of Malta, blaze forth today over the world of a single solitary humanity, the banner of our freedom, fourfold in all dimensions, charging all with the gold of divine intentions, remembering the Creator in the days of a youthful humanity, that they may be wrapped in the flame of love from his heart, is our prayer. Peace, love, blessings to all. In God's name, I am.